I'm resident of Collinwood for YouTube. I'm joined by my buddy Alan Gallant, my buddy Patrick McCray. We're here to continue our review of Claudius. We are at episode 9, Zeus by Jove. So guys, some fun facts on this one. Here's some trivia for you guys. The original version included a closing shot after Caligula has cut the fetus from Drusilla womb, which was considered very shocking. It was therefore re-edited several times, even on the day of its premiere, by order of Bill Slater, the head of Serials Department. After initial broadcast and a rerun, 2 days later, scene was edited again so that the episode is now somewhat alternated.
Altered. We get the idea.
Yeah. The slightly nastier version of the episode's closing, a scene that used makeup on her belly, was only shown twice in 1976 and is now lost since the BBC no longer has a copy of it. Jack Pullman noted that the original script for the episode ended with a long shot showing the butchered woman hanging in a chariot. So, guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I thought the toothpick was too much anyway, as he's kind of like digging in there.
Oh, my goodness.
It was one of the best pieces of fetus cannibalism I've never seen. What else am I supposed to say? It was horrific.
Well, it was still horrific, even with the edits. I mean, it did its job. There's no doubt about that.
What is it with John Hurt in this period and things coming out of people's stomachs?
Yeah. They're in a couple of years.
There.
Yeah.
And he played something that looked like it came out of somebody's stomach when he did the Elephant Man. So,
true.
Which is only like 4 years after this. About 4 years, 4.5 years after this.
But here's the thing. I mean, by the time this series is even made, things on the big screen were pushing boundaries way beyond this. I mean, you look at Last House on the Left. I mean, a lot of the things we get in the 80s are because of the stuff we got in the 70s.
It's true, but you're talking about theatrical releases too. Theatrical is different than television, and especially in this era. Maybe not so much now because you got cable and late night and all of that sort of thing. But back then, you had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV. You didn't have
networks in England and stuff. Yeah. I mean, you weren't seeing this on, Are You Being Served?
Right.
Yeah.
Even though
Faulty Towers, Basil's mood takes a turn for the worst.
Umbilicus.
So here's the question for you guys with this: because it said they lost the when they lost the stuff. That my question is, because they didn't, VHSs were eventually a thing. Did they ever think of would they have, if they didn't lose it, would it have ended up on DVD, you think?
No one. I mean, I think the VHS had been invented and was maybe in a few homes, but this was in its real infancy. This is, 1975, 76.
Video machines home machines cost like $5,000 at this point in time. It's real new technology and large and heavy. And,
I think the attitude would have been, well, anyone, eccentric enough to want something like that, to afford something like that, would have taped it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was lost either, Jewel. I suspect it was destroyed immediately. So to prevent any creative from putting it back in at any time in the future. I would not be doubtful of that.
That's so many things you can't put back in involving that scene.
Yeah.
Well, they said it was lost, and then the BBC lost.
That's one way to lose it. Set it on fire in a trash can.
Yeah. Just get rid of it. Pitch it over there. John Hurt delivers a hell of a performance in this episode. But I gotta hand it to Derek Jacobi. He's a lot of fun in this episode too. What did you guys think of all? Because they murder They murdered Tiberius as he's laying in bed.
Oh, yeah.
What did you guys think of that?
I'll make a beef cutlet out of you.
Yeah. That's expeditiousness, and that Roman secession was known for being expeditious at times.
Macro does not fuck
he's
around.
Not dead. He will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Macro is like Sejanus with twice the action and minus twice the ambition.
Right. His ambition does not make him foolhardy. He doesn't
doing his job.
He doesn't dump his hand on the ground for everyone to see. So yeah, it's very interesting, that whole thing. It's also very interesting to see Caligula go from being just a sort of conniving, somewhat perverted guy to going insane.
Full on Zeus.
Which he does in the course of an hour.
And they managed to top at the beginning of the next episode.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of exotic dancing,
he has to keep going. He can't reach his peak yet. It's just, it's amazing. But he does a really good job of it. He kind of uses the psychological gesture of the headache as a form of going insane kind of thing,
That's the cue. That's the tell.
Yeah.
So guys, there's a brothel in this episode. A brothel.
Yeah, they have excellent soup.
A brothel.
You know what you call a child raised in a house of ill repute? A brothel sprout.
Basically, they have a sex orgy in this episode. I mean, that's what it is.
Where?
Oh, come on.
They do?
They have a group. They're having all these people have like a bunch of sex in this scene.
Who does?
That's what they're doing.
When?
That's what they're doing in that room where there's all those people like touching each other.
In this episode?
Yes.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I wasn't impressed.
In this episode, they're like having this like. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
In this episode,
there's a scene where they're talking about having a brothel, and then they show like a bunch of people in the room, and I think there's like some topless women in there too.
What?
No, not this episode.
Not this episode.
No,
not this episode.
No, the only nudity you see is before the abortion.
Cesarean. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Are you
really watching these
ahead?
Huh? Yeah, I'm watching them. I might have watched the wrong one. But or part of the wrong one, at least.
You said this about that Walton's Christmas movie too.
Oh, yeah. We didn't do
all the nudity and orgy stuff going on.
That's right.
Good night, John Boy.
I don't think we did a Walton's Christmas episode on here. But that's just oh my god. Yeah, I did enjoy this episode when I did see it, but I will say that I don't mind like the violence of this episode. I get what they're going for. I think censorship sometimes. I mean, look, you can be creative. They do the right thing by not showing him cut the fetus out. That I agree with. But I also think too that television was going to become edgier anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, we just hadn't reached that point yet where we were going to see body horror on cable television. That was coming, but it wasn't quite there. And this was also a different format too. It's not the series isn't designed to be horror, so that's another reason why you wouldn't frame that incident in all of its graphic glory necessarily. But there's still revulsion about it because of the way that they actually do it, with him setting her up. Oh, it's not going to hurt, this kind of thing, and the scream, and then him coming out with face covered in blood. You get pretty much what happens, and it still has impact that way, thanks to the actors. being able to sort of do that. But yeah, you know, no blood bladders or any of that sort of thing. That would be a bit later, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So Claudius, he gets sent some dice by his friend.
Is that Jewel?
Yeah,
That's not in this episode.
Yeah, that's in this episode.
It's not. Alan, is that in this episode?
I'm not thinking of that.
That's the next episode, Jewel.
I think so.
Pretty sure
That's what. Yeah, because he gives them to. Yeah, there's no gaming scene in this.
Yeah, this is the episode in which Caligula declares himself a god, calls Claudius in, and Claudius has to, you know, worship him and BS his way through it so he doesn't get killed. And then immediately, as soon as he's out of earshot of Caligula, starts telling everybody, you know, that it is in the general area, you know, he's going nuts. Maybe this will work for us. Maybe we can get rid of him, you know, or you know, maybe he'll he'll get laughed out of the Senate when he declares himself a god. Who knows? But of course not. But that's the sort of thrust of this whole thing. Caligula's descent into madness, which happens, I mean, over a period of time in the hour, but it's still in one episode. You know, when you really see the severity of his mental illness being brought to bear, and people around him sort of, you know, dealing with it in their own way. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, it features one of those scenes that we've talked about where, you know, Pullman goes for so long in a scene that he allows you to see this massive range with a character. In this case, you know, it's Caligula's first day in office.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, imagine how easy it was, seriously, how easy it was for one of those other for, you know, any of the councilmen, the congressmen, the senators, the aldermen, any of those guys to play this, because, you know, it's what do they got going on? All they have to do is react.
Yeah.
To this huge range.
And it's strong. It's strong stuff that they're given to react to too. The writing, you know, allows for that, and that's the great thing about this for actors. The text is really good. The text and what it
really
is really good.
I have a feeling that Pullman was hated by his fellow writers after this because of how he raised the bar.
Yeah, he certainly
for what they were doing.
It's still,
like, oh God, no.
It's still high too. I mean, it's still up there.
Oh yeah. Was the Six Wives of Henry VIII before this or after it?
Good question. And I thought it was probably before, but I'm not.
I think it was. What was it after?
Let me see. So we're talking.
If it was after,
677.
that would have been. That was after. Yeah, that would have been their big follow-up. And imagine the pressure on them.
Right.
You know, because that's often mentioned in the same breath as this, as you know, the other.
Nope, Claudius. It's before.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, it's before.
Okay. Thank goodness.
It was actually quite a ways before. It's 1970. 70. Season 1 was 70.
Okay.
So it's, yeah. I mean, we didn't see it until later in the 70s in the United States.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it was produced. The first episode was actually January 1st, 1970.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, they didn't. Fortunately for them, they didn't have this to sort of. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously another excellent series. And Upstairs, Downstairs is another excellent UK series as well. I mean, you can put that.
Well, that ran forever.
It did. It was brilliantly done. Who wrote that anyway? Was Jean Marsh one of the writers of that as well as producing it? I know she was in it.
I think it was
produced.
I think it was Gene Shepard.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, that was a Christmas story. It would have been great if he had, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. You know, you get that Red Ryder cod piece, you'll shoot your eye out.
Robert Graves and Jack Pullman are the writers of this one.
This one, yeah.
Well, sort of, Jewel. I mean, you know, I think Graves had been dead for some time by the time this was done. It was based on 2 books he wrote.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it has him listed as a writer. That's why I
said. His text is what Pullman would refer to, of course. And then have to make whatever adjustments for episodic television. So
there was a 3rd book called Claudius Meets Ma and Pa Kettle that he never get off the ground. And that's too bad. It would have been fantastic.
Yeah, Marjorie Main wanted too much money for the film adaptation. He just burned in frustration.
Livia.
Smoking a corn cob pipe.
Oh, speaking of which, there's one very funny element. Well, there are many funny elements in this episode, but one of them is the hilarious outfit. Well, every costume that Caligula wears is great, but his first one, which is this superhero-like thing, which I'm sure they took from Superman.
Simple red symbol. Yeah.
Red crest on the front.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's and at that point it's sort of, of course, if you know anything about history, you know what's going to happen with Caligula, but at that point, as the character, Hurt is just playing him as the normal flamboyance, and then the headache starts in the middle of the scene and things go downhill from there. But the cough also is a sort of a foreshadowing of his.
What's Macro say? I cured his cough, or
yes, like as he drags his head in and sure, here you go. And then at the end of the scene, he goes, "Oh, take it away. It's disgusting." It's like, okay, but
shows he has some humanity.
Oh, among other things, he has vanity. Yes.
Yeah.
But apparently that sort of that truncated development of, I can understand why they would have to do it in the series, but historically, a lot of historians think that, and based on what Caligula did in his first year or two, that he wasn't completely bonkers at that point in time, that he was actually doing things that emperors do that on a positive note, building things and that sort of.
Anderson Cooper just did a thing where he went to a dig in Rome where they found essentially Caligula's bonus room and, some other stuff. And apparently there's been a lot of historical revisionism lately that Caligula might have really gotten a raw deal in history, that potentially he was not quite as crazy or as bad as we had thought for quite a while. That was it's a little like Richard III. He
probably outraged a lot of people by declaring himself and a horse a god. That probably outraged, especially the horse part, because I guess the protocol back then was you didn't normally declare yourself a living god. You were declared a god after you died. Much the same way that Augustus was, and that Livia wanted to be.
And they were kind of snobs back then, and the horse only had a 2-year degree.
Yeah. No associate's degree need apply, right?
It was a real shame. Because the horse teachers were just as good as in a 4-year institution.
Yeah. Depending on what you're going for. Why not?
I once wrote a one-man show about Trigger. It's true. It's true. And Trigger's immigrant experience and, growing up near Mini Mart and being dragged on stage to substitute for Zeppo, stuff like that. During Animal. It was quite something. Julie, you should have seen it.
being embarrassed by the codpiece he was forced to wear.
The dance belt.
Actually, it would be called a sturgeon in his case, but
anyway, Joel, how you doing?
I'm doing.
He's here. All right, awesome.
He's trapped in our association hell. Love that Caligula.
What's you guys' favorite scene in this episode?
I'm ashamed to admit any scene is my favorite scene because they're all so sleazy. They're not bad.
No.
But they're just horrifying, all of them.
Yes.
Honestly, Claudius' relief at when he goes back to report that to Herod Agrippa that he's become a god.
Yeah.
He says, "Oh, this is great. We're going to get the public back." It's so pure. Claudius is so pure in that moment.
And it's kind of a naive hope on his part, but at the same time, he's basing it on what he knows about the politics of the Senate and the public, the mob, and eventually he was right, but not immediately. So it is a great scene, especially since he's been released and relieved of his, mortality. He's not going to get killed right then and there. Caligula always keeps a dagger at his side, so it's like,
I mean, it's a little like seriously, it's a little like how I felt yesterday when the jury's verdict came in.
Oh, yeah.
And you keep hoping.
Yeah.
You keep hoping. Will this do it? No. Will this? No. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to relate everything to that, but we are dealing with such a dynastic, or could be dynastic power situation.
Right. We're also dealing with perceived wealth and power, which unfortunately justice system treats differently than it does somebody with, a regular Joe or Josephine. So that's always been the truth. That's not something.
A situation with someone who has so much power and keeps doing such bizarre things, and he keeps getting a pass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is bizarre. I've been watching instead of watching the news on this trial, I've been watching actual legal experts, pontificate about it, lawyers, people that have actually tried cases and so on. So, and that's from them, it was no surprise at all that he got convicted. The mainstream media was trying to gin up sort of a conflict there to keep people watching. So it was like they had to be surprised when it happened, at least a little bit, but I was pretty sure that they were going to at least convict him on a good number. I didn't expect necessarily that they were going to do a clean sweep, but apparently that was the testimony was good enough. Plus, the defense only called one witness, and one of the things, this is bizarre too, because one of the things that's really bizarre about the fact that he's been getting away with stuff for so long is that he steps in his own crap constantly. He asks his lawyers to do ridiculous things, and ultimately, probation and pick up some trash. Maybe we don't know at this point. So, but there's also the point.
There you go.
You have to say, how many times does he have to be convicted of something before it has a cumulative effect? Because he's already been, lost cases in court. So it's interesting. But I don't want to compare him to Caligula, I think, but Jesus. It's there is that crazy shit happening. There is that crazy shit. So, but
so there you go, Joel. What do you think?
Well, I think when you say about fairness of trial, go tell that to Bill Cosby and how fair of a trial he got. He wasn't. I mean, because the judge that heard his case was a guy who ran on a campaign wanting to convict him to get him to prison. And guess who happened to be the judge in his case? Oh, the guy who ran on the fucking campaign to get him to prison. And that judge did everything to railroad him.
There's no parallel, though. There's no parallel in that.
Well, yeah, that's not the
well, it's a different case, and ultimately,
there was sufficient evidence on Bill Cosby. I mean,
that wasn't the reason that Cosby got out. He got out on procedure. And he roofied about 80 women, by the way.
Oh my God.
It's true. I mean, Jewel, I know you love Leonard Part 6. I love Leonard Part 6. We can't let that cloud our judgment. I know you love Ghost Dad. I love Ghost Dad. We can't let that cloud our judgment.
If a judge who ran on a campaign previously to put you in prison and they happen to be the judge on your case.
I thought judges were appointed. I think you're thinking of the district attorney. No. The judge who was on the Cosby case. He was running as the district attorney initially, yes, but he lost that. But he ended up being the judge in Cosby's case.
Well, Lance Ito was busy.
Busy having a nervous breakdown, apparently.
Oh, God.
Judge Ito.
Just saying, how much of a chance do you have if Cosby got the guy who was wanting to put him in prison as a judge?
Well, you still have evidentiary.
Yeah, I mean, you have all that evidence, Joel. The judge is not the jury.
Well, just saying.
I'm not sure what you're saying, Joel, but that's okay.
I don't know either. I know you love Uptown Saturday Night, but we can't let that cloud our judgment.
Just saying.
Uptown Saturday Night was
we can't see. I know you have one of those big sweaters on. Those Cliff Huxtable sweaters.
Well, just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
What do you think of Caligula's chances in front of the Senate?
Oh, God. I mean, look, he's going to get killed, so what's the matter?
He's the dark horse candidate.
Yes.
Oh. Well, he's only going to last. I think Caligula only lasts about 10 months, right?
Oh, God, I can't remember. But it wasn't very long. It's certainly
not long.
Short reigns. One of the shorter reigns. No doubt about that.
All right.
Well, there we go. So when are we doing the next one, Jewel?
Let's see. Probably Monday. You guys can tackle that one. You guys got the rest of this, right? I mean, so,
what?
Yeah,
you're with us.
You don't need me.
No, you've already reviewed the next episode in this one.
That's right. So now you have to complete your mission.
Oh.
That's right. If you don't do this, the terrorists win.
Terrorists? What?
That's right. Oh, you don't want another tower to come
down. I know Saturday we're doing the Love One, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. God, that's so good.
So that's tomorrow night. Yep.
Sunday we're doing Victoria? Please? Victor.
Oh, wow, what a double feature.
Seriously. Good suggestions all. So
I'm just what?
That's gonna put some Tabasco on your prostate. You're gonna love that.
Yeah. Open up the pores.
I was trying to think what I was watching earlier today too. There was something else I was watching that was, I forget what it was now, but anyway, yeah, this episode's pretty good. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Loved Ones. So
all right.
Links to
Don't get too excited.
Yeah. Links to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel is going to be in the description box. Links to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Day book about is going to be in the description box. You guys have a good night.
All right. Bye, Joel.